I am here with Rebecca Clark, a colleague, friend, good soul with a big heart. Um, Rebecca, you're in Maine, right, in Newcastle,
Yes.
and you're certified as an EFT therapist, certified as an EFT supervisor, and you've been on this journey. I think you took the externship with Sue, right, back in
Yes.
2007.
2007. Yes.
Maybe we can talk a little bit about how this idea came forward to talk about you and EFT, and in particular, the journey with the EFT Tango.
Yeah, it'll be fun. How this came up for me was actually I had the opportunity to facilitate or present a little mini workshop on the tango. And I wanted to invite the participants to kind of be with me and feel into the tango, because I know how easy it is for me to get caught up in my head and trying to think through what I'm supposed to do, which rather than find our heart and be present. So in the intro, actually, I asked people to share, just their name as a way of, it was a small group, and just their name. And as I talk a little bit about the tango and what it is, could they feel into their bodies, what's coming up for them, whether in their bodies or what they tell themselves about the tango or themselves,
I like
or
this.
what
This is twice you've
emotion.
talked about feeling into it, feeling into
Uh-huh.
it. So you're inviting them. Can you feel
Yeah.
into your bodies? What happens for you when you just think about the EFT Tango, right? With all that, there's like pressure, performance, am I getting it right, etc. And you're saying, come
Mm-hmm.
be in your body. Let's go there. Is that my
Yeah.
understanding? Yeah.
Yeah. And so just my hope was that as we share this, we're also building a safe place to learn, um, invite new experience of the tango. And I was so grateful because the participants were right there and were so honest. And actually what came up, where they shared words like insecurity, not a dancer, ambivalence, um, simple, complex, kind of torn, um, slippery. So a few people said they loved it, and or were curious. And I so appreciate that. So we went through learning about the tango, and my hope was each move we could feel it a little more. And at the end of this workshop, I kind of revisited the same question. And what was really exciting and cool, I think, for all of us, was words that came up were calm, hopeful. And someone said, tango is my friend.
That's right. That's right. Okay. I remember.
Yeah, yeah. And that was really moving for me. And I think I shared that with you. And we kind of bounced back the idea of, how is the tango a friend? What if we approached our sessions? What if we approached our learning like the tango is my friend? And I appreciate that as I got to thinking about all the ways it might be. And I've had a process of like, never heard of the tango. What is this? A lot
Oh,
over
right, right. Because
over
when
time as
you,
well.
so for context, in 2007, there was not a thing called the EFT Tango. Sue certainly talked about tango dancing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
passion. She would talk about couples are in a tango, emotional, dancing to music. But this came about in around 2011 as a result of a consult, et cetera. And out comes this idea of 5 moves in this EFT Tango. And you're already in it 4 or 5 years before you hear of the tango, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I was busy trying to like take in the map and the moves and the interventions and parent 2 tiny children and
That's
so
real.
yeah. And so
That's
when
a tango of its own, the parenting
it's
tango.
ongoing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not so tiny. Um And so at first, when I heard this tango, I was like, oh, here comes my attachment fears, right? What did I miss? What else do I have to get right? Like, so my fears came up, right? And then what do I have to get right? And where does this fit? And then like that as I continued to learn the tango, and then maybe began to see it as maybe a placeholder, I began to try to do it in order, which was, um, you know, helpful. But over time, it became, and really, it is becoming, right, um, a resource, a friend. It's becoming, yeah, it's become my friend. I could expand on that. I've thought about
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
but
Well, I think it's important, but if I play around what you said about feel into it, you're talking about this clunky time,
yeah,
awkward at times. I'm not feeling into it. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to see if I can follow this thing called the tango, trying to get it in order. And something has evolved over time where now I'm in it. I feel it. It's my friend. It's helping me. Sort of like it informs me now from the bottom up instead of this top down cognitive perfectionist performance, get it right. Uh-oh, everybody knows I don't know the tango. Does that
yes,
you
yes,
shifted?
yes. I love that word, clunky, trying to think it through and then finding it more from inside, and kind of trusting the process a little bit more, and finding it as a resource. And it is becoming, I can think of lots of metaphors for it. Um,
So
and
what
so,
did you do? And so what are some things that's helped you along the way, or were there like, oh wow, dropping down in a little deeper, the feel of it, or how you make sense of the tango so it is your friend that you could share? Any
yeah,
things you shared in that workshop?
well, in my workshop, to introduce the tango moves, instead of using words, I had a picture. And for the first one, I was like, okay, what picture would evoke the feeling of what we're doing? And what I came up with is this very cute, um I don't know, puppy or dog sniffing the ground.
Oh,
And you
nice.
could see his eyes, but he definitely had his nose to the ground. I said, that's what we're doing. We're kind of sniffing out what's happening right now. We don't have to know. We're on the trail to something. And we don't have to have the answer right now, but we know we're on the trail. And if we're leaning in and we're sniffing it out, whether it be that, trying to follow and lean in and sniff out what their cycle has been, or maybe in the moment, the present moment, what's happening right now.
Right.
And it's like, oh, it's okay, let's just be in it and sniff it out. So that's my move one.
I love
And
that because it comes with whatever the smell is, like it could be smells like roses. This is like there's something connecty happening here. What's that? What's happening here? Oh,
yeah,
this smells like pain. This smells yucky. This smells. The point is to go and just start exploring and sniffing out what's happening, and that matches the technical name of it. Move on, reflect the present moment
yeah,
process.
because
I
it's
like
not
that.
all going to be clear right away,
Right.
and that's okay. I think that's like the first place we can get, like, maybe nerved up, is I'm supposed to be doing the present process. Right. Well, that's just sniffing it out. You want to. So anyway, that's how I,
Oh, well, what was the second picture? Are you going to tell?
yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Um,
I'm excited now.
yeah, visuals. Um, and again, like, part of it was like, okay, with what, non-licensed photos I can find online. But I was excited because the second one was Scrabble tile letters.
Mm,
And the letters that said chaos were all out of focus. And then a nice straight line across the top, it said order in these Scrabble letters.
mm.
So chaos, and it was underneath. As a matter of fact, so chaos was underneath and order was on top. And I thought, that's what it feels like when we sniff out a process and we say, this is where I want to go. To our client, to our human that we're with, to our person, it feels like chaos. It feels like a mess. It feels just out of order. It feels like, I don't know, a box of IKEA furniture without
Any
parts without the
instructions? And
instructions. Right.
is this the same piece of furniture, or are these parts from all sorts of, yeah, that
Yeah.
overwhelming. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's where we're just gonna go in and be with and notice how hard it is to have this is what feels like chaos, and start to help them order it and assemble it. See, I'm using my hands now.
I love
and
it.
and so that it begins to make sense, like, oh, I get, okay, therapist gets me, oh, I get me. And that's a little bit less, it's less scary, right?
Right.
Even if it's still the same thing, but we can get it, it makes sense, we can name it, it's
I'm not alone
ordered.
in it. You came and
Mhm,
started sniffing around, and then you
mhm.
came towards me, and you're exploring this with me so that what was chaotic, I'm not alone in. And
Yeah,
that starts to order it, and I can access these emotions in a fuller way or a deeper way.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah, take your time.
yeah, it's funny because I have a little some notes from my workshop near me, and I was like, no, if I look, I'm gonna lose the feel. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna feel my way into it. I'm gonna I'm gonna live it right
Right.
now. Yeah. So when it's less scary and it makes sense, and we're human and we're normal, and we've got someone there in it with us, we can put it together and we can say, we order their emotional experience. And see, when something makes sense, we have a tiny bit more safety, a tiny bit more scaffolding to
Mm,
pause and be able to name it, right? It's been vague, diffused, implicit, right? And that would take us into move 3. If
okay.
it's ordered and it's a little less scary,
Right. I got some scaffolding, some support.
yeah, I make sense to my therapist, right?
Mhm.
I make sense to me. Oh, I get me. Well, that's move 3. Pass it over a tiny piece of you to
Mm.
to your partner, or to another part of yourself, or if you're doing individual, or um and
Yeah. What was your image for 3?
well, that's not so hard to find, right? It was 2 hands, and it was like a little construction heart. Have to make it right because we're visual. Literally passing over a cutout of a heart. And I thought, wow.
Not hard for you to find. It's clear for you. You have made sense of the meaning of, and the action, and the of what step 3 is, for a way that's very
Ah,
visceral for you. And this is a gift to people listening. Oh, it's literally that image of, I'm handing a little bit of my heart over, a part of my
yeah,
heart over to my partner.
yeah,
Beautiful image. I like, yeah.
yeah. That's true. Thank you for that. Yeah. Right, because that's a place where I still flounder. I have to pass something over. What and why, and might scramble to do it. But you're right. If we've just ordered something new together with our client, and they have a little bit of safety, right? Because they make sense to us. We're in it with them. We're saying, yeah, that's normal. Of course, that's what you do when you feel this. Did you know that about yourself? What's it like to know it now? Can you share this piece with your
I
partner?
think it's important maybe to go back to what you said, because I think this is part of, when I think about what people struggle with the tango, you're helping, like, what does that mean, this reflect present? Oh, you're sniffing around, you're exploring,
Mhm.
trying to be open to whatever you find, and then you go explore it, whether it looks bad or negative or confusing to you, even in the beginning. When we first go down, then go down in and try to understand emotionally what's happening here, I have to fake it sometimes till I make it. I don't quite understand the behavior. I've got a part of me judging. I got a part of me that's frustrated. I got a part of me,
Yeah.
and then I
Ooh.
go anyway. I
Uh-huh.
go, well, this doesn't smell good, but I'm gonna go, oh, that's why you turn away. That's why you get hard.
Yes.
Now I'm starting to understand. And then there's another scary moment, right? That you're talking about of what do I hand over? And what if I ask them to hand it over and enact it and it
Mhm.
doesn't go well? And I think there's a lot of
Mhm.
times people avoid, and maybe they haven't found something deep enough and ordered enough and poignant enough, distilled
Mhm.
enough, rich enough emotionally. It doesn't feel like a piece of the heart. It feels like just something in the cycle, or
Yeah.
and so we get scared. Like, what if the partner drops it? What if we're
Uh-huh.
doing it too soon? And how did you kind of, wrestle with that and get more comfortable with more
Uh-huh.
enactments, smaller enactments, not getting so like, oh God, the enactment, what if it goes
Right.
wrong feeling?
Right.
That
Can you
makes
say
sense?
this and this and this and this and this?
Yes, it took too
Yeah.
long, too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get to
Yeah.
where you have that image of it's a bit of heart?
Yeah. And I think I would say, how do I every day in each
Mm.
session get myself back to that place? Um,
So is it just you got to keep discovering that and taking that risk with
yeah.
each couple, right?
hmm So a little piece of my heart. I think it's when when I can feel the chaos with them, when I can feel the emotional experience with them as I'm walking through move two in an assembly kind of way, where and validating each little bit that we're putting together. I don't know, metaphors. It's another piece of the puzzle,
Mhm.
or if they feel it in their body or the meaning they're making or emotions, right? Every piece adds to, of course, in that attachment frame that makes sense and being with them in it. And I begin to feel it with them like, oh, that's scary. Of course, you don't tell her in this moment that, why would you? But right now you're telling me and I'm getting it. And it sounds like this is new for you.
Mhm.
And maybe could you just share what you're realizing? Maybe it's that I'm with, especially in move one, I'm trying out something, Jim. Maybe it's my hand and their hand is passing it a little bit together. Can we do this? I mean, they're saying it, but we just discovered this together.
I like that. Yeah. And we, again, this feel into it that you're talking about what's happened in the going down and exploring all that, what looks like chaos, and finding the emotional threads. I'm coming in and I'm resonating and feeling the fear or the hurt, the
Mhm.
protectedness, and these things. And so when I go to ask, will you take, what would it be like, what stops you, from taking this little bit of your heart and handing it over to your another part of yourself, right, or your partner or a family member,
Mhm.
or your,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
I can feel the risk. And
Yeah.
maybe that helps you sort of naturally slice it thinner and come up
Yes.
to the edge of it where it's real and palpable, and I feel it with them, as opposed to, I'm doing this cognitive task, I'm supposed to have you share now, and they
Yeah.
don't so you literally are sort of, or you're the bridge or the prompt or something, and I'm right with you, like
Yes.
a gymnastic coach or something, the Olympics,
Yeah. A
they're right
spotter.
there spotting. Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
I
I love
like
that.
that. Yeah.
So what was picture four?
Oh, this one was fun. Um, I it was really vibrant, colorful picture of fruit and juice. And
Mm.
I said, this is where we're gonna juice it.
We're gonna juice that.
Because here is something just happened. And we want to be able to um I know some trainers have said mine the moment, take it in. Something new just happened. Like literally you're making new pathways in your in your body, in your mind, in your experience. And so we're going to juice a little bit. How was that for you? Is this different? Is this vulnerable? Is this what you feel like you could never say? And to the partner, do you like this more than how it comes out when you're caught in the cycle?
What's different about this move, the feel of
different?
it, the sound of it, the congruence, the look at, there's tears in the eyes. You haven't seen those tears before. What's happening to you when you get this signal or this thing from your partner? I like that.
Yeah.
You're really like honing in on what's happening for them, and that, again, kind of sniffing around again to say,
Yeah.
this, what's happening here.
Yeah, it's good to say, we're juicing it. And like, ideally, we'd love to be, making this beautiful, delicious cold juice smoothie that we're all sipping together, right? So we can move this, but it's not always, right? That's not the point.
Right, because this smoothie, we might think fruit smoothie and it's kale and grass and maybe there's some pebbles got in it accidentally. And as the partner tries to take it in, they don't experience it necessarily the way we do.
Yeah, and that's okay, right? So because Tango is our friend, we can say, wow, of course, what's happening? We can go right in and notice, okay, this is present moment happening here. Right now, he just shared this, and this is what's happening for you, right? There's a present moment process that's happening.
Right, and maybe signals us, because it's not always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, or 5. If that struggle is so tough and the juice is so like bitter, that maybe I go sniffing now with the receiving partner and I say, wow, that reaction is really strong. Can I come in and start ordering your reaction because you're having strong emotions? And then maybe, and then you can, 15 minutes later say, I got so stirred up when you shared because I don't know what to make of your past behaviors, if that's really true. And I got really confused and it hurt, that whatever happens in 4, we have to be like okay with.
Yeah. I think, that was an important part for me of Tango being my friend. Like, not like, uh-oh, how do I make sure that this listening partner takes in this tender new awareness, and then so we can like tie a bow on it. And you know what? if
It's a sloppy bow that a first grader made, and it falls off the package before they get it to their parent to say,
right? And their bodies know this isn't something to celebrate.
Right.
And my body knows it, right? So if we just go what's really happening, and here's where the Tango's another piece, it's our friend, right? It's because we say, you're normal, you're human, of course, right? This is a totally new, foreign, alien, strange, not all those words, but John Bowley's quote, you can't process this, but let's assemble your experience of what's happening now. And in that moment, I can tell myself, I'm normal, I'm human. Of course, I would like a lovely response, but wow, look, the Tango's showing me what's actually happening.
Oh, you're literally talking about me as a therapist. I'm human here. I expected, I wanted, I longed for something more, rich and vibrant and connecting, more like a stage 2-y, the stabilized couple that's starting to go to bonding events. And what I got instead was, what looked like this big, sharing, and the partner going like, no, nope. And that's okay too.
Yeah, because you know what,
at least it's happening with me here to experience with them rather than at home or something. If you befriend that, that's powerful what you're saying.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of the Tango being my friend, is helping me notice my exits. And
your own exits from the Tango, doing your own process about what just happened there.
What am I doing now? What's my present process right now? Freeze frame, it's the couples, let's hold your place, what's happening to me.
Let's say that's powerful. I want to play with what you just said. So in the moment I might stop and sniff around and go, I feel like I'm exiting, or I'm getting frustrated, or I'm pushing. What's happening inside me? You just did that. Oh, of course, I'm human. I wanted something more, powerful or moving or
I'm
something that
trying to
happened.
help. They're pushing me away. I don't know, something.
And then maybe even to still say to yourself, or maybe out loud to the couple, like, I'm sorry, I think I was pushing for something there.
Mm,
I'll come back to you now. I see that this is new but awkward. Or say to yourself, like, back off, you're pushing. And then you can
yeah.
honor both parties for, you took a risk. It's hard for you to see the risk. I don't expect you to, I don't expect you to take this in. And do the tango with yourself, right? Your relationship to yourself and this couple. That's a cool idea.
And yeah, I think that's sometimes it comes if we're watching our videos and we watch and we see ourselves kind of doing something, psychoed a lot, or maybe just sitting back and letting something happen.
Mhm.
Sometimes we can reflect on ourself as a therapist in those moments, and along the way begin to just, I think you shared with me one time, where either it's going to be um, dysregulation or regulation, like it's gonna happen, and so it's gonna happen with me. And it's almost like we can embrace our own exits if we
Yeah,
if
that's
we
right.
if we know, because our own exits are information, not just about ourselves, right? What do I need to come back in and accept what's happening? um and it's also information about the present moment process,
That's right.
because all three of us, or how many are in the room, all two, five, whatever, we all got dysregulated. So something's happening with all of our attachment systems. So let's lean in and sniff it out again,
I
right?
like
There we
that. I think
go.
over and over again, what I hear you saying is that, like, that it's almost like a radical acceptance of what's in front of me. And if I'm going to do move one and sniff around, it requires that I'm open to whatever the smells and sounds and feel and music is. Um, and that is an expansion of self. I have to get more comfortable with a variety of ways that people show up in the world as a human being struggling with attachment distress. So the withdrawer in me has to honor the pursuer, and I have to find, and vice versa. And then when I go into all those emotional letters and all the reactivity and the stuff in move two, how do I expand my acceptance and willingness to go be with things that are painful or hard or lonely, even when the partner or family member or something, or other parts of the self or the client are saying, yeah, no, not interested. Well, I'm interested. I'm here.
Yeah.
How can I help distill, and how can I help people share and be with what's happening? I keep hearing you: be with, feel with, be in the struggle with them. So then what's five? What was your image for five?
Wait, I just had something
Oh
come
yeah,
up for
please.
me as you were
Yeah,
talking. Let me see if I can find it again. Um, right, here's one more piece about that, the reactivity that can happen in move four, really, or any
or
move.
anywhere, right?
Right. So let's say the reactivity is this intensity that makes me want to move back and somehow, or put my guard up or go away somehow. Right. Yeah. And if I can just notice, well, that's what I'm doing. Right. Of course, that makes sense. Another piece would be, that's what people do to this. That's how people react to this person when they're in distress. I'm not the only one, right? I'm not the only one that leans back.
Right, that's right.
Wow, what's it like to always have someone leaning away from me, right? It gets our compassion back online, if we can notice and accept and use that as information. So uh, if I notice, oh, I'm leaning away from someone who's in distress, right? Their distress, oh, I'm gonna lean back in. I could imagine, maybe I've done this, maybe I have, I can't remember off the top of my head, but if I could say, I could even use that, like, I suddenly found myself leaning away, and then I realized that's what happens to you, isn't it?
That's
When you most
powerful.
need somebody, they lean away.
That's powerful.
And then you're back into assembling emotion.
Right,
And
because
I have this compassion. I'm even just sort of imagining it like, oh, if I can do that. Yeah. So
it's really powerful what you're saying, right? To be, it's what I think of as like the positive use of self, the whole use of self, rather than we're looking at these things as issues that we have and frailties, and we're supposed to be non-reactive or something, when rather than I'm curious about my own experience right now, as well as the person or couple or family in front of me, or the parts of this person. Um, and I want to bring the same compassion to myself as therapists that I bring to them, and they feed each other. I mean, Neff, says this in the research, that the more I have other compassion, the more likely I am to have self-compassion. The more I have self-compassion, the more likely that I will have compassion for others. And you're really you're like compassionate towards yourself about your EFT journey, and this tango coming in the middle of it, and another thing to try to figure out and map, and that I went up into my head, and it got clunky, but that's okay, because then I felt into it, and I've started to own it and make it work for Rebecca, and bring in your own sort of personalizing, individualizing.
Yeah, right. That's key also, is that that's another way to say, like, it's not something outside ourselves that we have to fit ourselves into or our clients into. The tango moves are the set of interventions into which we can improv off of, or can be ourselves in.
Ooh, I like that, improv off of. Okay, so image 5.
Okay, image 5. I had a scene of the sweet light in the evening sunset, coastal waters with some sailboats on anchor. And that is because I have done some sailing and cruising with my family. And there's something about sailing that, and I shared this story with the group, that in the course of sailing, you set out, you know where you're going to get, but you don't know what's going to happen along the way, how the wind's going to change the water. Something scary is going to happen, something might go wrong. And there are moments where you're like, I love this, I hate this. And at the end of the day, when you finally drop the hook, your anchor, and you've gotten to where you want to be, and maybe in the course of cruising, you're not finished your journey yet, but you're having this pause. And it's a pause where you just kind of take in, it's where the story sharing happens. It's where you kind of breathe in and out and you go, look what we did. That was really hard, that segment there. But I thought like we were going to be in real trouble, but look what happened. And we did it. And so you just kind of rest in that moment for consolidation. And it's a building block. It's this sense of like, okay, we can do this again. It's a building block for the next step, the next leg.
Nice.
So, and for some, I said, for some, you could think of this as, if you do yoga, the savasana, where you're just kind of letting it set. We also talk about it as tying a bow. It's basically, right, where you tell your story of however long it took, whether you did this like nice tidy tango that just went right along around the circle, or if it was a little bit more zigzag and lots
you stuck with it, you felt into it.
Yeah.
Maybe saying, hey, let's come into the harbor here towards the end of the session. I know it looked rough for you guys, and you're still disappointed a bit. You're worried that you're just going to get into your cycle as soon as you get home, and you're worried that your partner is going to put all this pressure on you to open up. But I want to remind you of what happened 15 minutes ago and what just happened just now. For the first time, the two of you talked about hurt in the session and didn't attack each other. This is really different. We're in the harbor for a moment. And I think there's an old song by Tom Kimmel called Ships, where he talks about we're sitting on the shore, and we've got the ship in harbor, and part of us would linger here, but that's not what ships are for. So then we're going to leave the harbor again and go back to move one.
Yes.
Find more of the distress and stuff, because I don't want you to be alone in it. And I'm going to get on the ship with you. I'm going to be in the storm with you. And as I get to know you better, sometimes I can even help steer the ship for you, so you don't crash into those rocks. I feel us heading, I'm sniffing around that we're heading into a crash. I'm going to slow it down and instead turn to one of you and say, So what's it like that your ship's heading right to the rocks? I hate it. Okay. And the anchor goes down and the ship stays there and we're in the Tango. I can
Yeah.
really see like the Tango for you, when you bring in the ship, it's like charts, right? You use charts
Ah,
when you're sailing, right?
yes.
And it's got a compass. It
Yes.
gives you a sense of a rudder.
Yes.
It gives you that it's okay sometimes to be smacking into waves and other times to be sailing with the wind. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay that storms happen. It's okay that we reach calm waters, and really how you do feel into it. And the thing I want to say, and let's see if you have any last thoughts, is I love how you have been in the present moment talking about it, and several times, or you've either just paused or you said, wait, I have a different thought. I'm not going to look at notes. I just want to be in this. As I share with people, the tangos actually sounds like your friend and it's almost like you got a co-therapist now.
Yeah.
It's in the
Yeah.
office saying, we could get back to move two if you're feeling a little lost.
Yes. Yeah. So, right. So I would say, if I was thinking about like the Tango, I was thinking, well, it's always there for me, right? I can go off and do some psycho ed or something, but the Tango is like, hey, wait, when you're ready,
That's
we're
right.
still here.
And
And
psychoed could be part of
it can be. I keep bashing on
integrating, or
psycho ed,
part
but
of,
it's
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Psychoed does get this all or nothing sort of thing
Yeah.
sometimes in
Yeah.
the EFT world. Hey,
Right.
folks, there are times it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't,
Definitely.
but all you find yourself doing is just teaching.
Right. Right. If I'm pushing or whatever, it's forgiving,
That's
because
right.
you can trip up and there's no like, well, you failed. Sorry, that's it. Session's over, right? It's just, okay, well, where were we? And it's normalizing, right? We're gonna get lost, and here's our compass for that. And I was thinking about that fabulous scene in Son of a Woman, where Al Pacino's character is inviting this young woman to tango. And she says, well, I don't really know how. She says, I went back and watched this segment. She says, I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake. Right. And he says something like, there are no mistakes in tango. You get tangled up and you just tango on.
Oh, I love that. There are no mistakes in the EFT Tango. You just get tangled up and tango on. And reminds me, somebody said once, there are no mistakes, they're just happy accidents. Because in those rough moments, we often discover something new or deeper, or something. When the client says, I don't need your damn empathy right now, back off. We just realize, oh my gosh, I just found a really protected part of them. So even though that
Yeah.
was awkward for me,
Yeah.
I can go back to that protected part of them and say, last week you got really mad at me when I kept asking you about your pain.
Mm.
Let's talk about that. It's delightful. It's really, fun and good and uplifting to hear you. Just that frame, that let's make the tango our friend, make it work for you, real. It's not a thing to sort of mimic. It's a way to help guide you, compass and chart and rudder and things, rather than a performance perfection thing, and feel into it. We all
Yeah.
listen to Rebecca and go out after you listen to this tape and see if you can just feel into the tango a bit more this week than last week.
That sounds great. Thanks so much, Jim.
Thank
I'm feeling into it now. That was
There
a
you
great
go. Well, maybe
exercise.
we'll give a chance to talk again about your journey and some other aspect of the tango. Or I really like to, and it's something we share in common, is let's look at ourself and the use of ourself, and how we are as therapists, with the same gentle, that Sue or Fred Rogers or, some other humanist would say. If you're beating yourself up, go look at that without judgment. And
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.